Denbighshire County Lunatic Asylum opened in 1848 with 70 patients. It was the first Welsh asylum built as a refuge from the maltreatment of Welsh patients in English asylums. Various experimental treatments were tested and developed at Denbigh over the course of its history. For example, in 1916, all epileptic patients in the asylum were placed on a vegetarian diet. Insulin shock therapy was used in the 1920s and 1930s, where patients were repeatedly injected with large doses of insulin in order to produce daily comas, used mainly for the treatment of schizophrenia. ECT was introduced in 1941 as a means of managing the symptoms of madness along with prefrontal lobotomies. In 1960, Enoch Powell visited the North Wales Hospital and later announced the Hospital Plan for England and Wales, which proposed that psychiatric care facilities be attached to general hospitals and favoured community care over institutional settings. Yet it wasn't until 1995 that the hospital finally closed its doors.
So I've had it for quite a long time, you know.
How long was you in hospital for in Denbigh?
Well, in Denbigh I was there 6 months on Whitford Ward, 4 months on Brynhwyfryd and 18 months on Tryfan Ward.
Yeah. What do you think about the way things have changed, firstly from Denbigh and Clynagrice up to the new unit?
I think in Denbigh you were in longer, you're in Clynagrice not as long when that was here, but I've never been in the new Hadvan, touch wood, so I can't really say on that, you know.
Yes, it's changed dramatically really, yeah, dramatically, because it was awful at the beginning, certainly for us, because we were, well, obviously never been involved before in mental health issues in any shape or form. We didn't know whether we were coming or going, and also there was very little help out there, and it was just absolutely awful.
Since you've been on the Watts, how's things changed for you?
Well, I've been on the Watts one of the longest, and I think Watts is one of the best I've ever been on, because I've had project workers, but that's only an hour, 2 hours, and then they go home.
So what's it made the biggest difference to you?
I think the staff ask you more what you want. Like when you're project workers, they sort of like do what they want and you have to go along with it. I think the Watts has helped them to look at things and help the clients to look at things as well, you know.
Because in my role as when I was involved as chair of Hafal, visiting Wales, everywhere was so different. It was going about different. Now, because the law has been passed in Parliament, they've now got rights by law, and not at the realms of or the whim of wherever people live, you know, because it was a postal lottery about treatment and mental health. But I can only say from our point of view, the pressure on us is lifted a lot, because there's a lot of involvement for carers, which there never used to be.
So do you think then you need to be sort of further along in your recovery before you go into the community?
Yeah, I think so.
You get to a point where you think, well, I'm just the same as anybody else, you know. I deserve to live in a nice house, or I deserve to have a nice car, and whatever, you know, all the trappings that go and being a regular member of society. Like.
And people are learning from, say, mistakes or faults in the system, and you get, especially in Wrexham area, in North Wales, you get a lot of support, you know, because I moved from, say, Clynagrice to Coed Helen and then moved into a shared house and then a flat, and that's really helped my confidence and my self-esteem.
So the first time I was ill, I found you had to hit rock bottom before anything was done about it. It literally took me trying to take my own life before anything was done about it.
What was the biggest achievement for you, do you think?
Well, becoming well again. Yeah. When you look at other people that are ill, that medication is so much, but a lot of it is you yourself. Yeah.
And do you think that the way a care and treatment plan works, or the new mental health measure, do you think that helps you to achieve your goals?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And I went into Coed Celyn and it changed my life.
So tell me a bit about Coed Celyn.
It's a lovely little 10-bed unit on Grove Road. Staff, brilliant, absolutely amazing. I owe a lot to them. And it's like to David Davison that have put me where I am today. So I'm so thankful to think the people I've met there, I still see at the Watts now and we're like that.
Tell me about the Watts music group.
Absolutely fabulous, lovely people, most genuine people I've ever met in my life. We've all had our problems, but if one of us is having a bad day, there's plenty of others to pick you back up.
So what have you gained from that, from going there?
Gain friends, hopefully gain a place to live, be on the scheme, have my own independence and move out of supported living.
So what does that mean to you, moving out of supported living?
A lot.
Why is
Have
that?
my own front door and know that it's one thing that no one can take away from you.
As you were so popular, Devon, you were your house was very small.
I was your kind. Don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh.
We're here this afternoon, three carers, myself Peter and my friends Marlene and Christine, and we're here as I say, as carers and members of Hafal, and we've been asked to, each of us, to give, during the time as we've been caring, there have obviously been many changes, as we all know, in mental health services, a lot of them positive changes, and we've each been asked to give our own personal views of which have been the most significant changes to ourselves. Our son is asked what is good for him, and also we are consulted, so they have, to sum it up, they now have a say in their treatment and recovery, and I think that to us is the most significant change. I don't know about what you feel, Marlene, in your life and experience as a carer.
Well, I've been caring for about 40 years now. With the help of my family support worker, I'm able to bypass the GP, and now it takes a lot less time, and my loved one can get the care he needs quicker.
In other words, really what we're saying, there's been over the years terrific improvements been made, and very positive ones. So
Yes.
we often only hear the bad side of the downside of mental health issues, progress and that, but we feel between us that there has been terrific progress.
3 years ago I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I was in quite a mess, and even my family couldn't see how I was going to cope. What I've now realised is that recovery, where I've come to, is a completely different place to where I expected to be, but it's a good thing in the fact that I'm now progressing much further than I would have been without the support of the Link service, and without the measure being put in place. I don't think I'd be in the place where I am today.
Now, because of the new mental health measures, you know, we've got that yearly checkup coming on. So now everybody knows, whereas 4 years ago, the dentist knew, because when you fill out the forms in the dentist, they automatically say what medication you're on.
Yes, they do, yeah.
But the GPs never did that, they, you know.
No.
Whereas now everybody knows, and that's what I find the most significant that's happened in the time I've been caring for someone.
Well, there's been a huge amount of changes, particularly in Wrexham. We've gone for a county-wide model of mental health services.
Yeah.
And in the past, 10 years ago, for example, we had a primary care team and we had a CMHT, and depending on what your problem was, would depend on who looked after you.
Yeah.
But sometimes there was problems between the teams if someone was transferred between one element of their service and another, that might cause problems. And sometimes the GPs weren't aware of where to send people to, so they might just send them to one area and then be told they had to send them somewhere else. So that was messy. So in line with the measure, we formed county-wide teams last year, so that we've got all of these staff based in one site in Wrexham, and the referrals go to one point, so that the referrers know exactly where to refer people to, so people aren't bounced around the service, and the teams work far more coherently together.
Can you tell me what's the difference between CPA and care and treatment planning, please?
Yeah, I think that the fundamental difference is the CPA, apart from having 2 T's in it,
Right.
so it's a basic package of care, routine, and then a more complex package of care around somebody to meet their needs. But it generally did involve professionals making decisions on what they thought was best for their service user or carer. And the whole ethos of CTP, the care and treatment plan, is that this is a collaborative process now, that people should negotiate what they feel their needs are, and actually they should be telling the professionals around, this is what I want to achieve and this is what I want out of this service. And whether you offer it or not isn't really the relevance. It should be around what people's aspirations are.
Like, you go into this meeting, it's your meeting, and you sat there and they're all talking about you and you haven't spoke a word.
So how do you stop that happening?
Be more assertive and just like say there's things I want to say as well, because I've got my point of view and you may not see things the way I do, but as long as I can get my point of view across and get the respect I deserve, then that's fine. Whatever comes out afterwards, at least I've said my bit. Some people think it's just a case of, oh yeah, Naomi, take your tablets, you'll be okay. You'll be fine, just take your tablets. It's not all about tablets, it's about communication as well.
Because I notice that people like with mental health issues, you see, they don't say much about themselves. And if they met somebody who has got mental health the same as them, they might be able to relate better. And then the mental health the system can learn from that, and they can get more support and finding out what's wrong with that person to put it right for them.
I think information, because more information people have, it's a lot better, you know, more training. And
GPs as well need more training, I feel, for mental health. All they tend to do is dish out pills all the time, and they need more training, I think, in mental health.
I would wish that that there was more funding in the services, so we could deliver more of the services rather than holding back and waiting lists. Cut waiting lists would be a good one.
Well, I think there's a lot of work for us to do on advising people about diet and exercise, and the effect that their medication has on them physically, and making sure that they're screened and that they see their GPs regularly. And if they're not able to because they're too poorly, that we should be doing some of those screenings for people. So there's lots of work for us to do around treating people a bit more holistically and ensuring that if they do need support with diabetes or cardiac problems, or if they've got some other type of serious physical health issue, that we're taking some responsibility for that, and we're supporting people through that.
If you had one wish to change mental health services, change one thing in mental health services, Gary, what would it be?
Give us more DLA.
It's going the opposite way, isn't it?
I'll tell you a funny story.
Being in an inpatient unit to now living in the community.
It's awesome, it's great. Sorry, was I meant to say awesome?
Whatever you want.
It's great, just...
He was in Denby, and he had the wards round, and he says to the doctor, "Doctor, will I be able to play the guitar when I leave?" He said, "Yes." "Why'd you ask?" He said, "Because I couldn't play it when I came in."
Our newest person, and I think you've done fantastic. Thank you for the interview.
Oh.
And when that rainbow's shining over you, that's when your dreams will all come true.
Go on, keep going.
There's a place waiting just for you.
Go on, Wayne.
It's a
You
special
swallowed the
place.
pen. Oh my God, this is the laughing song, everybody.
It's a breath I can't stop.